Hello, friends. It's your boy Jeff, filming a couple of contest entry videos here this afternoon on Friday afternoon before I go to work for a 12-hour shift tonight, yet again. But I got some decent sleep today, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and raring to go. So this first contest entry is going to be for one of my best friends in the VC, one of my Florida brothers. That would be Brad from H2 Vinyl. And he is running a 350 subscriber contest, which is awesome. Brad absolutely should have way more subscribers than he has. So if any of you out there are interested in watching some really excellent videos, and he puts a lot of needle drops in his videos, which is something that I just haven't. I don't know if it's because I just haven't taken the time to learn, or I'm just afraid to because of copyright or what, but he puts a lot of needle drops in his videos, which is very helpful, especially if you don't know the music much at hand. And he puts production into his videos, not like me, who just slaps the camera in a tripod, presses the record button, and starts talking. Someday, maybe I'll start making my videos fancy. But anyway, he has a 350 subscriber contest, and it consists of 3 questions. Very wisely, not wisely, what's the word I'm looking for? I like the idea that he based the questions around the numbers 3, 5, and 0. Yeah, I got good sleep today. But I have everything here ready to go, so let's get to it. First question is 3 albums celebrating narration. Now, had a slight problem with this one. I think the 3 that I have will qualify, or the first 2 I know will, because this was the first thing that popped into my head when I thought of narration. I thought of Days of Future Past by the Moody Blues, and of course I'm thinking of the end of Nights in White Satin, where you have, the poem recited at the end. Breathe deep the gathering gloom. Watch lights fade from every room. I won't do the whole thing, but every time I hear this on the radio, I just automatically say the poem, and my wife looks at me and shakes her head. But this was the, because that's nerdy, and this was the first thing that I thought of. So while it may not have narration throughout, I don't really have anything with narration throughout. I don't think I do. But I'm hoping this comes close, and I'm hoping this qualifies. So most everybody should at least know of this album, I would hope. It's a classic, Days of Future Past. And of course, the Moody Blues had other examples where they used narration in their on their albums, like Ride My Seesaw. The beginning of that song had, some speaking. On A Threshold of a Dream album, at the very beginning, they have like this dialogue back and forth, before it leads into the song Lovely to See You. Among others, that's pretty much what strikes me off the top of my head, but I went with Days of Future Past, because Nights in White Satin is great, and that poem at the end just fits perfectly. The other one that I know has narration in it, because I've listened to this many times, is this Johnny Cash album. Johnny Cash Sings the Ballads of the True West. This is one of my dad's records that I rescued. Not all that playable these days. I keep it the way I keep other certain records, just for sentimental reasons. But I remember this back in the day. He played this a lot, and there's a lot of Johnny Cash talking in between songs. This is actually kind of like a country concept album, and it's good. It doesn't really have hits off of it that I think, were radio or chart hits, but it's it's quite an album. This is an original Columbia 2i, and I wish this was in better shape. But I tried playing it, and it just sounds like sandpaper. So keep this, like I said, for sentimental reasons, but I know this one has a lot of narration throughout. This is a double album. Johnny Cash sings the ballads of the True West. And this one here, another album that I rescued from my dad's collection that he just basically gave to me. Marty Robbins, Gunfighter Ballads and Trail Songs. This one, I'm not sure if it qualifies because I played this sometime last year, and I know I showed it in a video, and I know I liked this album. And this copy, it's also a 2i Columbia, even though it looks like it's in kind of crappy shape. It has all those crisscrossing scratches on the surface. It played really nicely. I was very surprised by this one. But I didn't take the time to play the entire record again before I made this video, obviously. But I'm 92.5% positive that there's narration on this album too. If I'm wrong, somebody tell me in the comments, or Brad, if you know this album, tell me, and I'll make an addendum to this part of the contest. But I'm fairly certain that there is narration in this album too. Gunfighter Ballads and Trail Songs by Marty Robbins. This cover's a nice shape. The record, like I said, looks like in kind of not so good shape, but it plays through the way a lot of these old mono albums do. I mean, unless they're really, really beat up, they usually play nicely, and this one was a nice surprise. So I hope those cover that part of the question of the three-part of the collection contest entry. All right. The next part is the number 5, which is, had this written down, 5 albums you've never shared or haven't shared in a long while in a video. I went all the way back to the beginning of my videos, and fun fact, what were the first 2 albums I ever showed in a video? Well, it was my very first video was an estate sale finds video, and I remember it was in the summer, pretty hot outside, and I'd found an estate sale that was all records. That's all it was. The problem was I couldn't go on the first day because I was stuck working. So I ended up going on the second day, and like you would imagine, it was pretty picked over. I can only imagine what was there on the first day. What was left was, but I still managed to find Joe Jackson's Body and Soul. This was the very first album I ever showed in a video. And since I've been on the VC for 2.5 years, going on 3 years, it's been a while since I've showed this one. Also at that same estate sale, the second album I ever showed is the Grassroots Let's Live for Today. This one, it's the cover is in very nice shape. The record, it kind of plays okay. I tried cleaning it, but it's kind of noisy. The Joe Jackson one plays very nicely. So those were the first 2 albums that I ever showed in a video. 2.5 years later, they're back. I also kind of had a hard time with this question too, because I show everything I get at one point or another, whether it's through, spin zones or contest entries or whatever. But the what I call my original collection, which is the stack of albums that I'd bought, in the 80s when records were still king. There's probably some in there that I haven't shown in a video, so I picked 3 of those, and we're going to see. Bob Dylan's Empire Burlesque. I remember buying this in 1985. This album came out. And it's... I'd probably have to revisit this because, quite honestly, I haven't listened to it in probably 30 years. I know it's not one of his higher regarded albums, but I'd probably have to give it another spin because, quite honestly, I don't remember a whole lot from this album. Just that in like the mid 80s, Dylan was kind of burning out, and this was like right before he joined up and toured with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. But I don't think I've ever shown this album before. And then the album that followed that, another Dylan one, is called Knocked Out Loaded. Same on the back as on the front. This came out in 1986, I believe. And again, I have very little memory of this. I think I was trying to get into Dylan even back in the 80s. But, and picking up his new stuff and trying to get into him that way. But I'd have to listen to this one again to honestly give a opinion on it. I know the critics didn't really regard this album too highly either. It wasn't until like the end of the 80s when he put out Oh Mercy that I think he became friends with the critics again. But there's those 2. And then I don't think I've ever shown this one. This is Sting's Nothing Like the Sun, double album. I got this for Christmas the year it came out. I think this came out in 1987. So I don't think there's been any call for me to show this album before. So that's why I picked it to use for this contest. So here you go. It's actually the first solo Sting album I ever got. So there you go. That covers the 5 part of the contest. And then the last number is 0, and that question ties into this. Show an artist or group that you love, but you have 0 of them in their collection. I kind of did a little bit of a cheat with this one too. I looked at my Amazon wish list because I know there's several bands and artists that that I like that I just don't have any vinyl in my collection. Jinx is scratching herself and she's making a lot of noise. Jinx, what are you doing? Sorry. Very recently, I watched Blues Guy, a video by Blues Guy Vinyl, who talked about Buddy Guy and Junior Wells, and they would be a top artists on my list that I want to get albums of them because I don't have any. I have solo Buddy Guy albums and I have a solo Junior Wells album, but I don't have any of them where they work together. So that would be one. And there's a couple more. I'm just going to do more than one. Smashing Pumpkins. I don't have any Smashing Pumpkins vinyl. I have Siamese Dream on CD, but I'd like to get, of course, some Smashing Pumpkins on vinyl. Nick Drake. I know his albums have been reissued and can be had for a decent price instead of trying to track down expensive originals. But I don't have any Nick Drake in my collection. And of course, Matthew Sweet. He's another one that I would like to have in my collection on vinyl. At least the Girlfriend album. I know Intervention Records has remastered and reissued several albums in Matthew Sweet's catalog, Girlfriend being one of them, but they're $40. And they're never on sale. It'll be like, occasionally you might get like 5% off or something, and it's like, come on. $40 for an album is a little steep. I'm sure it's a great package. I'm sure it sounds great, but just make it a little cheaper. But I'm sure someday I'll get at least Girlfriend on vinyl. I have that album on CD. I mean, I'm well familiar with it. I love it. It's my favorite album by Matthew Sweet. So those would be, and I'm sure if I thought about it and went through my collection, there's probably at least probably 20 more artists that I don't have on vinyl that I would love to add to my collection. But those five there, or how many was it? Yeah, those four there will do for now. And actually, I'm probably going to pick up some of the Buddy Guy and Junior Wells because I found several of their albums have been reissued and they're on Amazon for a decent price. So I'll probably be picking those up at some point in the near future. That's my plan. Okay. Just crossed the 16-minute mark. I didn't really want to go over 15 minutes. So let me just say, Brad, congratulations on hitting 350. You're my brother. What can I say? Wish we didn't live so far apart. But I've really enjoyed talking with you both on the phone and online and interacting with you in the VC, watching your videos. Of course, I hope your cat Bato is doing okay. I know you said he had a UTI in your last video. Hoping that clears up. I know that's a common problem with cats a lot of times, and it's not easy to deal with all the time either. So I'm hoping for the best for you there. Hoping this contest is very successful for you. Hoping it boosts your sub count up so more people can see the awesome videos you make. And yeah, I'm very happy to enter this contest because I want to support you. So there you go. All right, I'm going to sign off. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll put a link to his contest in the description below. So if you haven't checked out H2 Vinyl, do yourself a favor and check him out and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. All right, guys. Peace. This is Jeff. I'll see you all again soon. Take care.